Everyone thought I was fragile because my shoes were torn and my voice stayed low. What they didn't know was that I had survived hunger, men like him, and a world that never apologized. And when the most feared gangster in the city fell in love with me, he didn't realize he was the one about to change. Everyone in the city knew his name. They said it carefully, like saying it too loud might summon him. Men with clean records crossed the street when his black car slowed down. Women locked their doors even when they hadn't done anything wrong. Police pretended not to see him, and if someone disappeared, people didn't ask questions, because questions got people killed. I didn't know his name the first time I saw him. I was standing outside the corner store, counting coins in my palm. Cold metal. Not enough. I remember thinking how stupid it was that hunger had a sound. My stomach made it impossible to pretend I was fine. That's when the street went quiet. Not peaceful quiet. Fear quiet. Engines idled. Shoes stopped moving. Someone across the road whispered, "Don't look." So, of course, I looked. The car was black. Not shiny, not flashy, just heavy, like it belonged where it stopped. The door opened, and he stepped out. Tall, broad shoulders, no smile, eyes that didn't search the street, they owned it. He wore power the way other men wore coats. I should have looked away. I should have disappeared into the background like I'd learned to do my whole life. But my hands shook. Coins spilled onto the pavement, and that's when his eyes landed on me. I expected anger, or disgust, or nothing at all. Instead, he stared. Not like a man looking at a woman, like a man trying to understand something that didn't make sense. I bent down quickly, scrambling for my coins. "Leave it." His voice was low, controlled, the kind of voice that didn't need to shout because it was always obeyed. My throat tightened. "I need them." Silence stretched. Then footsteps. I felt him before I saw him. The air changed, like danger had leaned closer. He crouched, picked up the last coin, held it between his fingers. "Bread costs more than this," he said. I swallowed. "I know." His eyes lifted to my face, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel invisible. Not admired, not desired. Seen. He stood, reached into his pocket, placed folded bills in my shaking hand. I tried to pull back. "I can't." "Eat," he said. Not a suggestion, an order. Then he walked away, just like that. The car door closed, the engine roared, the street breathed again. People stared at me like I'd just survived something impossible. Someone whispered, "Do you know who that was?" I looked down at the money in my hand. "No," I said. And I didn't know that answer would change my life.
I found out his name the next day. The woman who owned the building where I rented a room cornered me on the stairs. "You spoke to him," she said, eyes wide. "I didn't speak," I replied. "He spoke." She grabbed my arm. "Do you know who he is?" I shook my head. Her voice dropped. "That's Marcus Kane." The name hit me like a warning bell. Everyone knew Marcus Kane, gang leader, kingpin, the man behind half the city's fear. "He doesn't stop for anyone," she whispered. "What did you do?" "Dropped my coins," I said. She stared at me like I'd said I survived a gunshot by blinking. From that day on, I felt eyes on me. Cars slowed when they passed. Men lingered too long near the store. Danger brushed past my shoulder like a threat. And then, 3 nights later, he came back. I was closing the laundromat where I worked nights. My hands smelled like soap and bleach. My body ached in places I couldn't afford to acknowledge. The lights outside flickered, and there he was, leaning against his car, like he had all the time in the world. "You're late," he said. "I work," I replied. He watched me lock the door. Walking home alone isn't smart. I don't have a choice. Something unreadable passed over his face. Now you do. I laughed. I couldn't help it. It came out bitter. You offering to babysit me? He stepped closer. The streetlight caught his eyes. Dark, steady, dangerous. I don't babysit, he said. I protect what's mine. I stiffened. I'm not yours. His mouth curved slightly, not a smile. We'll see. He started appearing everywhere. Never touching, never forcing, just there. A car at the corner, a shadow across the street, a presence I pretended not to need. When men followed me, they disappeared. When my landlord tried to raise rent, it dropped. When someone broke into my room, nothing was stolen, but the message was clear. I confronted him one night. I didn't ask for this, I said. He didn't deny it. You didn't have to. I don't need saving. His gaze softened, just a fraction. That's what makes you different. I hated how my heart reacted to him, how my body recognized safety in someone the world feared. You think I'm weak, I said. No, he replied. I think you're quiet. I looked him dead in the eye. You don't survive my life by being weak. That was the first time Marcus Kane looked surprised. He took me to places I didn't belong. High-rise apartments, private rooms, spaces built on blood and silence. Men bowed their heads when he entered. Women watched me like I was already dead. She won't last, I heard one say. They didn't know I'd already survived worse than them. I listened, observed, learned. Marcus thought he was shielding me from his world. He didn't know I was studying it. And when the first threat came, when his enemies moved against him, it wasn't his guns that saved him. It was me. I overheard a name, a location, a betrayal whispered too carelessly. I warned him. He didn't believe me, until the bullets missed his head by inches. That night, blood on his shirt, hands shaking for the first time, he stared at me like I was something new. You saved me, he said. I met his gaze. Calm. Steady. I told you, I said. I'm not weak. Enemies closed in. Loyalty cracked. The city demanded blood, and Marcus Kane stood at a crossroads. Power or me? That night, he asked quietly, if I leave this life, would you stay? I didn't answer right away. I was never waiting for you to change, I said. I was waiting to see if you could. He looked at his hands, hands that had taken lives. For you, he said, I would burn this empire to the ground. I touched his face, gentle, unafraid. Then do it, I whispered, and live. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was afraid, but because I knew something had shifted. And once things shifted around men like Marcus Kane, they never shifted back gently. The city outside my window hummed the way it always did. Sirens in the distance, engines roaring, someone laughing too loudly at 2 a.m. like they were trying to forget something ugly. Marcus sat in the chair across from my bed, silent, still wearing his jacket. Bloodstains darkened the sleeve where someone else's bullet had grazed him earlier. He hadn't changed, hadn't spoken, just sat there, elbows on his knees, hands clasped, staring at the floor like it might give him answers. You should go, I said quietly. He didn't look up. I won't. I'm not in danger, I added. That made him lift his head. His eyes found mine, sharp and unamused. You became danger the moment you walked into my life. I exhaled slowly. You're not angry? No. Then what is that look? He leaned back, jaw tight. Fear. I almost laughed. Almost.
Marcus Kane didn't fear guns or prisons or death, but he feared me. "I warned you," I said. "I don't belong in your world." He stood suddenly, crossed the room in 3 steps, stopped inches from me. I felt the heat of him before I felt his hands. "I built that world," he said, "brick by brick, body by body, and I never once questioned it." His fingers brushed my jaw, light, careful, like he didn't trust himself. "Until you." My chest tightened. "Then stop pretending you can protect me from it." "I can," he snapped. "You don't understand what you overheard. You don't know how close that was." "I know exactly how close it was," I replied. "That's why I spoke." He stopped moving. Slowly, he turned back to me. "You could have been killed," he said. I met his gaze without flinching. "So could you." Silence fell between us, heavy, electric. That was the moment he stopped seeing me as fragile. That was the moment everything got worse. It started with whispers, then disappearances. Men Marcus trusted for years stopped answering calls. A warehouse burned down on the east side, one of his safest places. A shipment vanished without a trace. Betrayal crept closer every day. "You need to leave," he told me one morning, pressing a burner phone into my palm. "Go somewhere quiet, somewhere far." I shook my head. "Running doesn't save people like us." His eyes darkened. "Don't say us like you're already bleeding for my sins. I've been bleeding since before I met you." He clenched his jaw. "This isn't romantic. This is war." "I know," I said softly. "That's why I'm staying." That night, the attack came. Not loud, not chaotic, precise. Gunfire shattered the windows. Men poured in through the back entrance like shadows. I smelled gunpowder before I heard screaming. Marcus pushed me down behind the couch, body shielding mine. "Stay, don't move." I grabbed his wrist. "Marcus!" "Stay." He was gone in seconds. I listened. Shots, crashes, pain. Time slowed the way it does when survival takes over. I counted breaths. I waited for gaps. I watched patterns. One of them came too close. I saw his boots before I saw his gun. I didn't scream. I grabbed the lamp and smashed it into his face. Blood sprayed. He went down hard. My hands shook, but my mind stayed clear. I moved. By the time Marcus came back, the apartment was quiet. Too quiet. He found me standing in the kitchen, knife in my hand, breathing steady. His chest rose and fell fast. "What did you do?" he asked. I looked at the blood on the floor. What I had to. He crossed the room slowly, eyes never leaving my face. "You weren't supposed to see this side of me," he said. I stepped closer. "I've seen worse," I replied. He reached for me and stopped. "Are you afraid of me now?" I searched his face. "No," I said honestly. "I'm afraid for you." Something in him broke then. He pulled me into his arms, grip tight, desperate, like if he let go, I'd vanish. That was the first time he kissed me. Not gentle, not slow. It tasted like fear and fire and things you can't undo. He stopped hiding me, started introducing me. Not by name, by silence. Men looked at me, then at him, and understood. Some respected it, others resented it. "You're exposed," his right-hand man warned him. "She's a liability." Marcus's voice was calm. "Say her name again like that." The man swallowed. "She makes you predictable," another said later. Marcus replied, "Then you've already underestimated her." But enemies weren't so forgiving. They followed me, watched me, waited. One afternoon, a woman approached me outside the cafe. Expensive coat, perfect makeup. "You don't belong with him," she said. "I didn't know men were owned," I replied. She smiled thinly. "He's going to die." I leaned closer. "So are the people who try." Her smile faded. That night, Marcus found a message carved into his car. "Choose." He stared at it for a long time. "I won't lose you," he said finally. I touched his face. "Then stop pretending this life will let you keep me." His voice dropped. You're asking me to become someone else." "No," I said. "I'm asking you to remember who you were before power convinced you it was love." The final betrayal came from the inside. His oldest ally, his brother in everything but blood. The ambush was brutal. Bullets tore through steel, screams echoed, smoke choked the air. Marcus was hit. I dragged him behind cover, pressed my hands against the wound, blood soaking my clothes. "Don't," he gasped. "Don't look at me like that." "Like what?" I asked. "Like I'm already gone." Tears burned my eyes. "You don't get to leave." He laughed weakly. "You're stronger than me." "No," I whispered. "I just know when to stop destroying myself." Sirens wailed in the distance. Marcus grabbed my hand. "If I live," he said, "I'm done." I squeezed his fingers. "Live, then." He did. Barely. Recovery changed him. So did watching men abandon him when fear faded. The city didn't bow anymore. And he let it go. One night, he stood on the rooftop, looking out at everything he used to own. "I thought power meant never needing anyone," he said. I stood beside him. "Power is knowing when to walk away." He nodded slowly. The next morning, Marcus Kane disappeared. No gunfire, no announcement, just silence. He lost his empire, but he gained sleep, peace, a future that didn't smell like blood. And me? I didn't save a gangster. I loved a man until he chose to stop being one. Marcus Kane disappeared quietly. No farewell, no explanation, no body left behind to worship or fear. Just absence. An absence, I learned, was louder than gunfire. For weeks, we lived like ghosts. Different cities, different names, cheap apartments with thin walls and no history, morning light instead of neon, silence instead of sirens. At first, Marcus didn't know what to do with peace. He woke up reaching for a gun that wasn't there, sat with his back to the wall in restaurants, counted exits without realizing he was doing it. Power had been his oxygen. Without it, he struggled to breathe. "You regret it," he said one night, staring at the ceiling. I turned toward him. "Regret what?" "Choosing you." I didn't flinch. "You didn't choose me," I said. "You chose yourself." He swallowed. "I don't know who that is yet." I traced the scars on his hands. "Neither did I, once." Peace never lasts for men like him. I knew that. The message came through an old contact, one we thought was dead. "They know you're alive." Marcus read it without reaction. "How long?" I asked. "Long enough." He stood, calm in a way that terrified me more than his rage ever had. "They won't stop," he said. "Not while I'm breathing." I stepped in front of him. "Then we make sure this ends." He looked at me sharply. "No, I won't pull you back into that world." "I never pulled you," I said. "I walked in with my eyes open." Silence stretched. Then he nodded once. "All right," he said. "But this time, we do it clean." They came at night. 3 cars, 6 men. Old enemies with new desperation. Marcus moved like muscle memory never left him. Efficient, controlled, reluctant. I didn't fight with weapons. I fought with awareness. I saw the flank before they moved, cut the lights, triggered alarms that weren't supposed to exist. When the last man ran, bleeding and terrified, Marcus didn't chase him. He let him go. "Why?" I asked, breathless. Marcus looked at his hands. "I don't need another ghost." Sirens approached. We vanished before they arrived. By morning, the city believed Marcus Kane was finally dead. And this time, it was true. Months passed. Then years. Marcus took work that didn't involve fear. Construction, night shifts, honest exhaustion. No one bowed their head when he entered a room. And slowly, he smiled more, laughed quietly, learned how to be touched without flinching. Sometimes I caught him watching children in the park like he was trying to understand something stolen from him long ago. "You'd be a good father," I told him once. He looked stunned. "I don't deserve that." I took his face in my hands. Deserving isn't how life works, I said. Choosing is. One evening, as rain tapped against the windows, he asked the question he'd never asked before. How did you survive before me? I hesitated. Then I told him everything. The hunger, the nights locked in rooms with men worse than him, the choices I made to stay alive. I learned early, I said quietly, that strength doesn't look like winning, it looks like lasting. He didn't speak, just held me for a long time. I thought I saved you, he whispered. I kissed his cheek. No, I said, you just stopped hurting me. That was when he understood. I was never fragile. I was forged. We don't live large lives. No headlines, no legends, just mornings with coffee, arguments about nothing, hands finding each other in the dark. Sometimes I catch him staring at me like he's still surprised I stayed, and sometimes I remember the man who ruled the streets, the one everyone feared, the one who thought love was weakness, and I smile. Because the truth is, I didn't fall in love with a gangster. I fell in love with a man brave enough to stop being one. And he didn't save a poor girl. He met a woman who reminded him how to be human.
So let me ask you this. Do you believe a person can truly change for love? Would you stay if loving someone meant risking everything? If this story moved you, please like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more emotional stories like this.